and welcome to Food for Thought. I am Ramona Singh, bringing you a brand new show only on Channel Y every Sunday at 10 a.m., 4 p.m., and 10 p.m. And today's conversation is about the power of the mind. And who I have with me in the studio is the group editor of Y Media, Yudhvir Jaswal. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, Ramonaji. Thank you so much for inviting me here today. And power of mind. I think this is a great topic that we're going to discuss today. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. So we always wonder about, there's things you want to accomplish in life, and you have your goals and you have your plans, and then they don't work out. And so what is that all about? And I think it's really important to talk about your conscious mind and your subconscious mind, and what are the differences between the two? What are your thoughts about it before we get into some of the technical aspects of this?
Yeah, as usual, I'll just share my experience once again today. And I don't know, I think you learned your driving here in Canada, but I learned my driving in India. So with this example, I think we can clear what is a subconscious mind. When I was in India, I used to drive different bikes, and most of them, like Yamaha, Kawasaki, and all these bikes, they had brake on one side, and they had the gear system on the left foot. So, but suddenly, if you're driving Bullet, which is the Royal Enfield, it's the other way around. So, what happens is that the first time we're driving a bike or a car, or even riding a bicycle, we are programming our mind. We're very conscious. We're very aware. We're very conscious, we are very aware. So this is the conscious mind that we are talking. Okay, that I'll plug in, the start, and then I would start the bike with a kick, and okay, this is my clutch, this is my accelerator, this is my brake. So everything is done in a very conscious state. But after some times, whether it's Yamaha, Kawasaki, or all these bikes which have the brake on one side and the clutch on similar, they're all similar. So you're driving a bike, and while even you're driving a bike, because you've programmed everything from your conscious mind to your subconscious mind. So even while you're driving a bike, you're thinking about something else. Even sometimes this is a common practice in India. Those shouldn't happen. We're listening to your cell phones. Hey, what's happening? And you're driving with one hand, and suddenly you reach your office or you reach at a place. But when I shifted to Bullet, the Royal Enfield, it's different. It takes a bit time to adjust, because that has not been programmed in your subconscious mind. So you're consciously now programming that in your subconscious mind. Similar thing happened to me when I came to Canada. The first thing most of us do is get a driving license. And we do it through our driving instructor. So when I landed in Canada, so in India, it's a different side of drive, the right-hand side drive and the left-hand side drive. Of course, everything changes in the car as well. So while we're driving here, the instructor will say, okay, take a left turn and do the indicator. And I'll suddenly say, okay, this. And the wipers will start playing. Because in our subconscious mind, it has been programmed from India that, okay, the indicator is on the right side. Whereas here in Canada, we have the indicators on the left side. So that's the British system, that's the Indian system, that's the Australian system. But the North American system is different. So what we were doing consciously, what we're learning, that is our conscious mind, but everything that has been programmed at the back of our mind, whatever we feed ourselves, whatever has been programmed, it's like a record. It's like a record of the entire system. So that is all stored in our subconscious mind. That's if I explain.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the important part about if you wanted to change your programming, repetition's one of the ways to change it. So what's the difference between the two? Your conscious mind is your creative mind. It's the things that you want, you desire for, you have your goals. It's right now having this conversation, I'm using my conscious mind. And your subconscious mind it's the programmed mind. It's by habits. And it's important to know that from the last trimester of a woman being pregnant, so when you're in your mom's womb, in your mother's womb, in the last trimester to the age of 7 is the time period where you're going through your programming about life. Everything about your identity is programmed in those years. And so from birth, from that phase to age of 7, you're in a hypnotic state, taking in programming by just being able to to observe what's around you. So as you see your parents talking to each other, how do they communicate to one another? That's where your ideas of what love is, what respect is, what communication is, the way you see your siblings, family, society. All of this is programming you about literally everything about you. And what's interesting is that you live 95% of your life, of all your time, with your subconscious leading the way. So what does that mean? That means that other people have programmed all your thoughts and beliefs about literally everything about yourself and the world around you, right? So when your conscious mind says, I want to accomplish X, Y, Z, and if you're able to accomplish it, that means that you have programming in your subconscious mind that is able to support what your goals are that you consciously have decided. But when you decide something and it doesn't work out, that means you do not have the programming that it takes to be able to accomplish that, and therefore you have the self-sabotaging behavior that you're not even sometimes aware of, right? That it's actually happening. So it's actually very important to know this. So when it comes to law of attraction, right, and people say, well, why can't I manifest what I want? Why is it that, you know, I want this thing, I want to accomplish, you know, my goals, and they list it out, and I visualize it, and I write it down, and I think about it. Why is it not happening? Well, essentially, one thing about manifestation is that you get what you believe, not what you want. Where are your belief systems? Your belief systems are in your subconscious. So if I were to ask you, what was the programming you received at the age of 2? What are you going to say? I don't know. What was the programming you received at 1 year of age? I don't know. So now what's happening is people are not aware of the programming they had, but they're in 95% of the time, they are behaving through those programming, right? So it's one of the ways to change that, to reprogram your subconscious mind is through repetition, like you said about, you know, learning how to drive on the other side of the road and on the other side of the vehicle, as you would say, right, from India to Canada. But these are very interesting stats, and of course I'll go through some more examples, but I just put so much on the table, and I want to get your take on it before we go into more details and examples of it.
Yeah, I think Monaji, you highlighted some very good points. I'll pick 2 points from here. One, you just mentioned while you were discussing this, that your subconscious mind is something what you believe. Yes, you rightly said so. And when we wake up in the morning, yes, of course, we all have certain desires. As you just said, that those are all our desires, or this is what I want, this is what I want, and that you're doing it consciously. But your entire belief system is your subconscious mind. I was listening to Priyanka Chopra, and she says, confidence is the best accessory you can wear. But how does confidence come? The other day, one of my radio callers, he called me, sir, where do you bring this confidence from? Confidence, I can pretend to be confident with my conscious mind, but it has to be there certain factors in my subconscious mind which are programmed, which will make you confident. You have to program yourself, which will make you confident. Now talking about the belief, I'll give you 2 examples regarding belief. These are 2 very interesting and very profound examples which I'm going to share with you. One is, whatever we're learning today in science and everything, you must be reading so many journals. I read because this is my job. I read so many things. So when I hit upon certain scientific things, I think we're all once again going back, which we had already studied in our belief system, in our religious books, or even in our spiritual teachings. We've learned all that. I'm going to compare 2 things. Quantum physics. I think this has been researched a lot. And here, what is the base of belief or faith? We have to believe this. As much as we start questioning, I do question that. I have questioned a lot. I've did that a lot in my life. Does God exist? Yes, I question that a lot. Does God exist? Yes, no, give me the proof. Science says this, I'm an engineer, this says this, God exists, faith. I've questioned a lot. But the interesting part that I found about this after, you know, debating with my parents, with my family members and so many things, belief is a very important and integral part of life. Very important part. Belief, faith is a very important part. Why? Because I'll again shift towards the science for a minute. What is the placebo effect? We all know, even these days, even whenever there is any research done, whether it was the immune system, whether it's the COVID medicine, anything, you have to have similar number of medicines given to people which are just sugar coated, or they're just sugar coated medicines. They're not even medicines actually. So the results were very similar. If somebody comes and they say, okay, fine, I have this disease, they'll be given just a sugar candy, and they'll say, okay, fine, this is a medicine. Yes, you'll get cured for that. And 7 out of 10 times, that's a very high number, sometimes 6, sometimes 5, they get cured. Why? Because of this placebo effect, they get cured. Because they started believing They started programming their subconscious mind that yes, I'm getting better. Every day they're taking this sugar candy. Actually, this is not even a medicine, but 6, 7 times out of 10, these people recover well. Why? Because they're believing this. Very similarly, if I'm going to do something really challenging, oh, I'm going to do it. Why? God is with me. I'm going to do it. God is with me. Right? Whatever God I believe in, God is in me. And that belief system, that programming that I've done on a continuous basis, that has programmed in my consciousness, that gives me the confidence, that gives me strength, that gives me everything to perform that. So this is the power of positive thinking. This is the power of belief. This is the power of subconscious mind.
Yes, absolutely. So I do want to clarify one thing, is that when it comes to the programming of your subconscious mind, and since it happens from the 3rd trimester of the mother being pregnant, so when you're in the womb, which you have no memory of, and you cannot tell anybody what happened then, and until the age of 7, those are your programs. So sometimes you don't even know what you believe. And that's the important thing. If your programming of who you are, what your self-worth is, what are your ideas about success, what are your ideas about love, marriage, money, all these things that we say are so important in this day and age, right? What are your ideas about how one should look, how one should behave, who the friends you should have, where you should live, all these things that, you know, may consume how you live your life. These were all done at that age. So and there were other people's ideas because you absorbed it, not by reading a book, but, and maybe sometimes yes, but before you're able to read, it's about observing your surroundings, right? Just like the phrase comes from monkey see, monkey do, right? And that's why parents are very aware of what they say or do around their children, because their children are just, they're absorbing everything like a sponge because it's in a hypnotic phase of being able to take it. So for parents that, you know, put a child in front of a TV, right, for example, and maybe not monitor what they're watching, well, what they're seeing on TV is part of that programming, right? What the music that they hear is part of that programming, the kids they interact with, and it's more unfortunate if that child is now in a home that is not supportive, or other people have limiting beliefs. Then it's that vicious cycle, right? Of like, me as an adult, I went to school, let's say, I'm educated, I have a job, I can support myself, but if I'm not aware of these critical factors of how my mind works, and nobody taught me, nobody ever talked about it, and I'm just on autopilot, because essentially you're on, if you're operating your subconscious mind 95% of the time, so if I'm alive for 85 years and 95% of that time, I'm operating in a programming that I'm not aware of where it came from, what those are, and I'm not aware of what those belief systems are, because I never sat down to meditate, to say, what's going on, let me have it come up. Or I didn't sit down to go through hypnosis, because these are some of the ways that it can come out. Through breath work, there's a few ways that you can actually tackle what it is, and also asking yourself questions. What, like the last few episodes, we were talking about, you know, what are your goals? What is your goal about your financial life, your social life? You know, these were ways to step into asking yourself to become aware of your belief system. And when I said the belief system was more specifically on, if you're manifesting things that you believe but you don't know what they are because you haven't taken the time, or you don't know what's in your subconscious that's been programmed by other people and not yourself, then what does that mean, right? Why? And then so when your goals are not aligning, when your life, the vision you have for your life is not aligning to what you want, then you realize, hey, wait a minute, I don't have the right programming. So think about this. I have my phone here, right? So, but if I had just put up a BlackBerry from the 2005, and I didn't do a software update, so your brain is the hardware, right? The programming is a software update that you have to do, right? So unfortunately, you're not doing a software update until the age of 7, because it's done for you because of your circumstances in life, which family you're born into, which country you're born into, what's your gender, what are these gender roles, what is it appropriate that I'm a girl? My parents give me a doll to play with, but not a car. They dress me up in pink versus blue. These are gender, I didn't choose it, right? This is the cards you were dealt with in this life, right? And so if you're not aware of those things, and you don't do an upgrade on your hardware, which is your mind, then you're operating on a system that no longer can match what your desires are and what you want to accomplish in life. And then you may think it's life, it's unfair, it's other people. And then you remember we talked about a few episodes being triggered, right? Like you're minding your own business and something triggers you and you have a reaction. And I said, it's so important to ask yourself, why did I get triggered? Because it's not that person. It's not that, it's something in your programming that has now come to surface, right? And one thing and I know I just unpacked so much stuff here, but one thing I want to say before I hand it over to you is you mentioned driving, right? So most of the time when you're driving, if you're driving the same way from home to work or from work to home, you're not actually thinking about it, you're going, and that's when your subconscious mind is actually driving. Your conscious mind is thinking, right? So your conscious mind, unfortunately, is always in thought, in either the past or the future, either in positive thought or negative thought. Your conscious mind is rarely here right now. Right now we're having a conversation and you have to listen to what I'm saying because I'm going to throw it to you and you're going to have to say something to our audience. So you're consciously here right now. But some other times you could be in a room and not be present, right? Because your thought is past, future, positive, or negative, right? And that's when your subconscious mind, that's why it's there 95% of the time, taking the steering wheel of your life. But you don't even know who that driver is because it was other people's programming of you.
Yes. Yeah, no, thank you. I think you've shared some very interesting stuff. And where do I start with now? No, I was really enjoying the conversation that you were doing this. So I'll just pick two or three points out of the conversation that you just mentioned. First things first, this takes us back to our earlier conversation that we had in a previous episode, clarity of mind. You said it right. We should know what we want. Then only, this is the first thing, vision. Vision is very important, clarity of mind is very important. Because if we keep programming ourselves with something that we do not want, then our programming will keep manifesting that for us. That is precisely the reason why some people are very successful. Again, what is the definition of success? That's a different thing. I mean, what do you want in life? You will get it. This is one thing I can give it to you, what you want in life, what you start believing, you will get it. Maybe sometimes people ask me, are you going to join politics? I said, I haven't decided to become the Prime Minister of Canada right now. So if and maybe you might take it as a joke, but this is precisely what I will do in my life. If I decide to enter politics, I'll be continuously believing that yes, I am going to aim for the top job. I'll try to become the Prime Minister of Canada. This is my style of functioning because clarity of mind is very important. Your vision is very important. Because that is the best you could do with your subconscious mind. Because clarity of thought is there, your vision is clear, then you keep feeding that to your subconscious mind. Because you rightly said so, just as you were giving the example of BlackBerry, our brain is exactly like a computer, exactly. Say for instance, you are saving 20 pictures of yourself on your laptop and you're trying to find a picture which you have not saved in your laptop. Will that picture come up? No. Why? Because in your laptop you did not save that picture. So you've saved 20 other pictures, now you're trying to find a picture, oh, I was in Australia, but you didn't save that picture in Australia in your laptop. So that won't come out. Very similarly, our brain is exactly like a computer. Whatever we are feeding consciously in awareness to our subconscious mind, the hard drive, the data, that will only come out. So if I'm feeding myself that yes, I'm confident, yes, I'm going to win, yes, I'm going to do good, if I'm feeding my mind positively, then my subconscious will always come back positively. That's point number one. Second, you were just mentioning one thing. Yeah, you're right. 95% of most of us, we do not know what we want. Just because we do not know what we want, that is precisely the reason we are not able to manifest, we are not able to get what we want. Third point, everybody says live in the present. Yes, that's what Buddhaji says. If I've watched Buddhaji, the most important thing, if I had to underline just one thing out of, there are hundreds of things, Buddhaji is great, but if I had to highlight one thing, Buddhaji continuously says, live in the present, live in the present. That's what, okay, from Buddhism to Hinduism, Bhagavad Gita ji, Krishna ji, that's what Krishna ji says, live in the present. Arjun ji goes there and he says, man bhatakta rehta hai, to live in the present. That's what most of the religious sacred books will say, live in the present. Being mindful, that's what it says. But it is difficult. If you are living in the past, there is a fair chance guilt or any other things that will lead you towards depression if you're living in the past. If you are living too much in the future, there could be a chance that you'll get anxious, you'll get anxiety out of that. There could be a chance. I'm saying that, not necessarily. But that is why I say live in the present. And it's very important. You were just mentioning that yes, our subconscious mind, 100%, 100% our subconscious mind is being programmed by our surroundings. With the people whom we meet, with the people we surround ourselves, our parents could be part of that, our teachers are part of that, our colleagues are part of, they're all part of that, right? So that's why they say that you are a sum total of the people you surround yourself with. So surround yourself with positive thinkers. So that is precisely the way to program your subconscious mind. So maybe, I'm not sure how much time we left before the break. And I want to ask you, Ramona ji, what are you feeding your mind with? Because as much as what we are feeding our body, it's important, but what are we feeding our mind with? How do we program our mind for success? Since you brought up this topic, I thought maybe we'll discuss about success later on. But a very important part, if your vision is clear, if you have clarity of thought, if your subconscious mind is fed the right dose, 100% you will succeed. So I want to know, Ramona ji, what are you feeding? And maybe once Ramona ji says, I have a very important thing to say about you, and I'm sure you're feeding your subconscious mind with that. I'll say that.
Okay, sounds good. I mean, so a couple of things I want to highlight is that since your programming, my entire being happened until the age of 7, and I had no control over it, right? Because I was a child and I live within my family and the country that I live in, or what I was exposed to. So that's where nature versus nurture, the theory, right? So nature is what you're born with, nurture is your surroundings that you were nurtured to being brought up in, and your identity falls in that. And so some people may know what they want, but cannot get to what they want, even if they believe they can do it, is because they don't have the right programming that's in the subconscious mind to get there. That's a key indicator. So if you have certain goals and certain visions of your life, right, and then you say, why doesn't it happen? Why is it not working out, right? If that happens, then that shows you that there's a conflict between your conscious mind and your subconscious mind, that you don't have the programming installed till the age of 7. It's an installation of multiple programs. So what can you do to become aware of it? So one is, the first time I ever delved into this topic, I was 22 years old. I went to a meditation center called Vipassana. For people who've heard of it, it's a type of meditation that you stay still. So you for 10 days, you go in, there's centers all throughout the world, and I went to the one in Ontario. And for 10 days, you don't have a phone, you don't make eye contact, you don't read, you don't write, you don't, like, you're there by yourself, and you're training your mind to be in the present, right? And that's when I learned about how your mind is always on a pendulum, moving around and never in the present. And now it's being driven by the subconscious, and I don't know what's in my subconscious because somebody else programmed that until I was 7. So then it's about becoming aware of that, and I would recommend it to anybody. It's not as hard as it sounds. I promise you, it's very doable. I did it, and it's 10 days, and your mind becomes so sharp when you're in the present. You do a lot of breath work, you become very aware of everything, and it just brings you to a whole nother compassion, because you realize how alive you are and what a miracle it is to actually be alive when you're not distracted by your thoughts. The second time I became aware of this was through hypnosis. I've tried so many things, and I'm more than happy to share this with anybody. So hypnosis is another way which helps you calm your conscious mind and then bring up your subconscious to be able to figure out what that is with a recording, to be able to listen to the recording afterwards. That's very interesting. Another way is through breath work. Breath work, I've done it through, and it's a way of breathing in a duration of fast and slow and holding your breath, and that takes you to another altered state. And another way is ayahuasca. And that's, so those are mainly, like with ayahuasca, it's illegal in Canada. It is a psychedelic. What that does is it puts your subconscious puts your conscious mind away to sleep, because your conscious mind is the one that's thinking things, analyzing. It's your logical mind, right? It's your logical mind. It's analyzing things, it's hearing things, it's creating things. So that goes away, and then your subconscious, which is your master, right? So the stats, science has shown it's 95 to 99%. It's what's driving your life, right? So the master then comes up, and then now you're able to say, hey, what do you have in there? What is this driving force behind my life that is your programming. What are you? Nice to meet you. Right? And then you can start tackling it and understand what's there. And then you can say, wait a minute, that's not true. That's false. And then you go into the program, then you go reprogramming, which we'll talk about. But I'll give you an example. So when I was a child, I'm half Iranian, half Indian, and my parents sent me and my sister to a private school where they taught us English, Hindi, Punjabi, and Farsi, 4 languages. And so, I get into kindergarten, right? I'm 3 years old, junior JK, and then, senior kindergarten. And it's difficult learning 4 languages, right? Like I have to learn English, Hindi, Punjabi, Farsi. And I couldn't read until I was in grade 3. So I had a very difficult time reading because I was taught different languages until I decided after grade 3, I'm going to speak to English. That's when we moved to Canada, and then they started French with me, and so I said, I'm going to stick to English. And so I couldn't read properly because I just didn't have anybody actually teaching me. Like my teachers weren't as good, I would have to say. So I thought I was not that smart. So that was a programming I had until the age of 7. I can't, because when the teacher asks me to read in a different language, when the class changes and the language changes, I can't do it, and I get into trouble, and then I get an F. I'm not smart. So now when it comes to now in studio, when I'm reading a teleprompter, once in a while I'll start stumbling on my words. Then there's a voice in my head that comes and says, oh, you don't know how to read, right? And then I'm like, no, and I catch it. I said reset, right? Because I'm educated, I know how to read, I know how to write, I know how to think, I know how to analyze. But see, it's your programming that is there, and so sometimes if you don't catch yourself, so now I know I have to go, since it's still coming up in the back of my head when I make a little mistake, I'm so critical of myself is because of that programming. I know I need to do a little bit more work to be able to erase that. Just like how you would delete a file or you delete a picture, you can do that with your mind, and we'll talk about that when we come back on how to do those important things for yourself after this break. Welcome back to Food for Thought. We are talking about the power of the mind with Jadoo, and we've been talking about the conscious mind and the subconscious mind, and what the difference between the two are, and how do you program your subconscious mind that seems to be driving your entire life. About 95 to 99% of your life is driven by your subconscious mind that is programmed from the 3rd trimester when you're in your mother's womb until the age of 7, where you're just observing the world around you in a hypnotic state, and that's where your identity's formed about virtually everything in the world. And so how do you figure out what those things are, and how do you reprogram it to get to the life that you want to live?
Yeah, sure. Welcome back after the break, and I hope you're enjoying the discussion. Ramona ji, as we were discussing in the first half of the show, that how do you program your mind? And I think just as you're feeding your body, so are you feeding your mind. If I may ask you, what are you feeding your mind with?
What am I feeding my mind? So, as I discussed about how you have certain programmings in life and how it actually drives what's happening. So a couple of things to figure out is that if I have goals for Ramona's life and I cannot achieve them, therefore Ramona does not have the programming in place that was given to her by her wonderful family and friends and her surroundings until the age of 7. Therefore, I must make sure that I do and reprogram it and update my software, right? Because my mind is a hardware. The other thing is that I want to make sure that if I've now updated and I've added new software that now promotes to the life I want to live, but then I keep going back to, well, now I have 2 conflicting ones, my mind, my subconscious mind will automatically default to what it knows to do best, because your subconscious mind is the repetitive, it's the programmed mind, right? It's based on habits. How do you form a habit, or how do you get rid of a habit? 21 days of doing something repetitively, right? So that's very important to identify. So how do I make sure that I reprogram my subconscious mind, right? So one is hypnosis. You can do that like I could read a book, right? And I could read all this self-help of how to do stuff, but that's not impressing on my subconscious mind, right? Because that's just so my conscious mind, my logical mind, my reasoning mind, my creative mind. That's shallow because it's only 5% operational, right? So what do? I could hypnotize myself by listening to programming as I fall asleep. Because me sleeping is my conscious mind sleeping, but my subconscious mind is still active and still working. Your subconscious mind is also in charge of your nervous system. It regulates everything without you having to think about breathing, blinking, any of those things, right? So as you go to sleep, you can actually reprogram your mind through hypnosis while you're sleeping and wake up a brand new person, and do that for 21 days and you're a changed person, because now you have the programming to do what you want to do, right? And I kid you not, I really kid you not, your brain is like a computer. It is a hardware. You can give it the programming support it needs to function the way you want it to. The other thing I actually learned about so how do I feed my mind? I listen to all this stuff and I do the research, but even more so, I've done the hypnosis. Dandapani, he is a monk. He's a Hindu monk. Fantastic. If you want to listen to any of his stuff, he was a Hindu monk for many years. I think I would have to say over a decade. I don't recall exactly how long he was a monk, but then he comes out of the monkhood and he decides to share his teachings about the mind, right? And now he's a thought leader, and he trains a lot of different businesses and organizations. And so listening to Dandapani's research and his thoughts and his program, he talks about that you are not your mind. So a lot of people think that their thoughts are them. They're not you. You are awareness. So if you can imagine the mind as as per Dandapani, it's a vast room, right? Or you can even say a mansion. Just it's this big space. One space, so imagine all these space, there's a door. There's one door you open, there's anger in there. The other door is happiness. The other door is anxiety. You are awareness that is going through each of these doors, each of these rooms. So you can actually control where your awareness goes. So just like how your conscious mind will go into a thought, in the pendulum, right, that I learned in Vipassana, which is in the future or the past and positive or negative, well, that's your awareness going into all those different rooms, which is your mind. So therefore, that's why when somebody triggers you, you can go into happiness, nervousness, whatever the case is, whatever those programmings are that you may not be aware of. What that's actually happening to you is your ability of understanding, wait a minute, something's going on. So now what this means is you can control where your awareness goes. You are not your thoughts. You're not any of those things. You're not your mind, right? And focus is a big part of that. You always talk about focus, right? So if you keep focusing on being distracted by just jumping from one room to another room, then what you're doing is you're impressing on your subconscious mind to still keep staying distracted, because your subconscious mind's only going to give you what you feed it. And Dandapani actually gave a really good example when I was listening to one of his classes. He said, imagine when you're riding a bike or there's a trail that people keep walking on the grass. You notice that the trail that people keep walking on that grass is the part where there's no grass. It's just the ground, the soil. He's like, that's like your subconscious mind. If you keep repeating the same thing over and over again in a negative stories about yourself, right? Learned this actually in Anthony Robbins. The first time I tried to reprogram my subconscious mind, I don't know, I think 15 years ago, It's interesting because it's all these stories you tell yourself, right? The story of I cannot read, I'm not smart enough, or I'm never going to be able to do that. Or the flip side, which is through repetition, which is a second way of reprogramming your subconscious mind, is it's Tony Robbins talks about it as incantations. Other people will talk about it as affirmations. Whatever the case is, you're repeating it to be able to impress on your subconscious mind what that is. It's a lot of effort, right? I think you have to say it about like 108 times over and over again until you keep impressing it. So maybe hypnosis is a lot easier because you get to put on your headphones and go to sleep and get reprogrammed. The third way is I would highly urge for anybody who's interested in any of this topic and wants to delve deeper into it, Bruce Lipton. He has a ton of wealth of information on all this stuff. Listen to his information too, and he talks about energy psychology, which is about super learning things, and he's got a whole array of library that you can go and start literally, like just like how you go to Netflix and say, what mood do I want to be in, right? Do you pick a comedy, a drama, horror? That's you taking your awareness to any of those rooms because you get to choose, right? So now, what life do I want to have? Go through the catalog of Bruce Lipton. He's got all of it. Go pick a catalog and reprogram your mind because it needs to be reprogrammed to be updated to the life you want to live and not what you learned when you were like 5 years old, 6 years old about life. In a different country, in a different era, in a different time.
Yeah, well, that's amazing. And here I'm going to reveal one of the things that you're certainly feeding yourself because you've shared quite a few interesting things that you just mentioned. And one of the, of course, there are so many other things that I noticed about you. But one thing I think you're consistently feeding your mind is positivity. And as we were talking earlier, positivity has its effects. We're talking about the placebo effect in the first half of the program. And I think, Monaji, that's one thing that you're consistently feeding your mind because my interactions with you have been very, very positive. You're always very positive about everything. That's one thing I can say that you've been consistently feeding your subconscious mind because people say we have to think positive. How do you know you're thinking positive? How do you know you're thinking positive, or how do you know you're thinking is negative and you need to work on yourself? So I've discussed this in one of our earlier programs that if you are happy for others' success, when others are successful, others are happy, you're happy for them. If you get inspired with others' success, that means you're a positive person. In case you feel compassion for others when they're in pain, that means you're a positive person. But this is one thing I realized about you, that you keep on consistently feeding yourself. And this doesn't happen overnight. Yes, it does take time. You're creating a loop. Mm-hmm. Just as the positive loop is strong, so is the negative loop is strong. So if you're creating a consistent positive loop for your subconscious mind, your mind will be programmed for being positive. That's one thing. And this is what I've been doing, though nobody complimented me when I was a kid or when I was in college, but I would always tell myself, and maybe you can take this as a joke, but I'll say I'm the best, because I was all about sports. I'm the best soccer player, I'm best than George Best, I'm best than these are my own guys, up there, and I will say I'm best in these soccer players. So I'll always compliment myself, telling myself. And then I saw a movie, The Secret Life of Walter Mitty, and I could relate to that movie because I've been talking this with myself throughout my life. And whenever I wake up, I tell myself I'm the best. This is what I used to tell when I was in school, when I was in college, even in my hostel. Then I would wake up, my roommates are awake or doing something. I was the last one to wake up anyway. So I would tell myself I'm the best, I'm going to do this best. And this is what I tell myself as well. And even at home, I go to my wife and I ask her, where did you get this guy from? These guys are no more available. I just tell her, what are you talking? I said, yeah, I want to feel that, yes, I'm the best. I feed my subconscious mind consistently telling myself that, yes, I'm the best. People sometimes say, no, you're sounding arrogant, but I'm not. This is the first time I'm sharing it, right? This is the first time I'm sharing with anybody. I don't say it in front of anybody, but I am consistently feeding myself. You just now mentioning so many different factors regarding awareness. You open up a room. I'll just talk about two right now, right? Fear and excitement. Because we're in the media, we face the camera every day, we go on stage very often. Where does fear and excitement come from? Sometimes, even after facing camera for so much time, being on the stage, I tell my wife, internally I'm very shy. She said, you're shy? You're in front of camera all the day, you are on stage all day, you are shy. I said, yeah, I'm very shy. I don't know. I'm very shy. He said, no, what are you talking? The interesting part is that fear and anxiety or excitement, they're all coming from the same part of the brain. You just have to channelize it. You don't have to suppress it, because if you suppress anything, it'll come back. So you just have to channelize. So whenever there is camera is on, whenever I have to go on stage, I've shifted my gears now. Though I was never nervous in front of camera. Actually, I loved going on camera. I was always about excitement. Whenever the camera would be on, I get excited. So anybody who has any sort of stage fear, anybody who's having a tough time, or if you're nervous facing the camera, just channelize your things. What happens? What happens when the camera is on? What will happen? Oh, I'll get nervous, maybe some palpitations or this. Okay, no, I'm not going on stage, I'm not going in front of camera, and you move away. But what happens in excitement? Same things. You're excited, your heartbeat goes up, you're pumped up. So channelize your thought process and keep feeding that to your subconscious mind, and eventually you'll be fine in front of facing a camera or on stage, because your subconscious mind is programmed.
Yeah.
Camera is on, wow, I'm going to have a great experience. Remember, sometimes there is certain music playing in your car and you relate it with certain incidences, because that particular music is in your subconscious mind, it is programmed, it is fed that way. So feed positivity, what I'm sure you do a lot.
Yeah, that's true. So your subconscious mind is like this vast library that is holding on to so many memories that you consciously don't even remember. It records everything, and it takes an impression of it, and it's all there. Now, Freud also talks about the unconscious mind. He talks about a third level of mind, which is it's where you're not even aware it's there, because it's maybe your traumatic experiences, any of those things that you have repressed so much that is not going to easily come to surface, such as if it were to sit at your subconscious level. But one thing that's very important to note is that you mentioned about being positive, and I'll tell you why. Yes, I'm optimistically positive about everything, and yeah, like I really am. I'm a positive person, and I'm usually up for a challenge, and if you say let's do something, I'm like, yeah, it's a great idea, and because there's that positivity. But why am I positive, right? So now you go back into understanding what is causing my positivity, and I asked myself all the questions, and it comes down to me believing that life is in perfection. That is my belief system, that everything in life is in perfection. It is working out the exact way it's supposed to. I have arrived where I need to be. I am exactly where I should be right now. I'm not late, I'm not early, and that I believe in the process. I believe in the process of everything taking me down the stream that it's supposed to, whether it's supposed to be running an election in Brampton East, or whether it's supposed to be sitting here on Y Media, whatever, or living in London, England, and doing telecoms, whatever all those phases of life were, I was supposed to be there at that time. And because I believe that's all in perfection, therefore it cannot be negative, it has to be positive. And so now that isn't ingrained in my subconscious, so now it's effortless, right? So part of that means is that you can actually be and think and do anything you want to do, as long as you program that through repetition or hypnosis, and therefore it'll be there. And therefore you'll just go, because you're going to be on, here's the guarantee. You're going to be 95% on autopilot. So why not the autopilot that's coming and driving the vehicle of your life, why not make sure that you have put the right programming there? It's what you wanted to be there, not things you're not aware of. It happened while you were consciously aware of it. It happened before your age of 7, happened when you're in your mother's womb. Why leave it to chance like that?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more on this point. As you just mentioned, that yes, program yourself for positivity. So as long as you keep programming yourself, as long as you keep feeding your mind with positive things, and the point that we're discussing earlier as well, that why certain people, you're saying certain people know what they want, but they're still not able to get it or manifest it.
Yes, and I can explain it.
Go
Yeah,
ahead.
so some people know what they want. You consciously, you know what you want, but it's not happening. You need to now ask yourself, you need to realize that the programming you have in your subconscious does not have the right programs to support what you're seeking. So therefore, you need to now go get yourself those programmings, and I've given you the tools you can do. Go to Bruce Lipton, you can study some of Dan DePanny stuff, or anybody else you look up, and that's all great too. The other thing is that you got to understand that when you say my manifestations aren't happening, I want this thing, I've been focusing on it, I have been writing it down, I've been dreaming about it, I've been visualizing it, I've been doing all of these things. It's also go back to, do I believe what it is I want, right? So for example, let's just say somebody says, I want to be rich. I want to be rich beyond my wildest dreams rich. I want to be richer than, Amazon's Jeff Bezos, right? Worth hundreds of billions of dollars, sorry. And then you're saying, well, why aren't I getting there? Well, have you asked yourself what your beliefs are about money? And then if you actually sit down and figure out what that is, what if you actually think money is evil, that money corrupts people? What if these are these values that you have that you are not even aware of? So now it's in conflict with what it is you want. Your conscious mind is saying, I want to create this thing, this is what I want, this is what I deserve. Your subconscious mind is saying, wait a minute, everything that I saw since you were a child, and this is the belief system, everything you saw in the movies or you heard your parents say, or your understanding of that, it's the wealthy that are corrupting things, and we're in a war because of corruption for money or for oil, for whatever the reason is, and that's why there's a conflict. And what is more powerful? Is it your conscious or your subconscious? Your subconscious is more powerful because it's 95% to 99% of your driving force.
Yeah, you're right. I think it's way more powerful. 2 points that you just mentioned. One is you just mentioned a very important term, that is visualization. Visualization is the key to success. Because many times you just mentioned I talk about focus. Yes, I do talk about focus because without focus, again, it's difficult to attain success because you're not focused on certain things. Because many youngsters, they talk to me that, the parents tell you he's looking for a good career. So I say, what do you want to become? Oh, I think I want to become a doctor. Okay, fine. So no, but my dad wants me to become an accountant. Okay, now we're talking about your dad. Okay, but I think I just met a girl and she says, no, how about we move to state? So where is the focus? The focus is missing. The first focus is very important, as you said. Okay, but focus on what? On your belief system. So now from focus, I'll shift the thing to belief. What do I believe? What do I focus on my beliefs, and what do I believe? Belief comes with two things, and with the clarity of thought. Clarity of thought, and then believe, and then focus. But where does clarity of thought come from? That comes from the first part, the first chapter. The first chapter over here, all this discussion is visualization. Anything which was created in the world, whether this is CN Tower or any movie or any spacecraft, even you were talking about these cell phones, the Blackberries and these iPhones, they're all created with visualization. And both the minds are important. Conscious mind, because that's the creative mind, that's the intellectual mind, that's the logical mind. So while you're consciously thinking about anything, feed your subconscious mind with those visualizations, with that creativity, with that logic, with that belief, with that focus, with that intensity, with that emotions to your subconscious mind. And then attach your emotions to that manifestation that you want in life. If you're connecting directly your subconscious mind, those emotions to your business, even if you're looking for a career, a political career, a sports career, or a business, like John McEnroe, he had his emotions directly attached with that. I play with that intensity, though I shouldn't. I'm guilty of that. I shouldn't do that. But when I play to win with a lot of intensity. But I'm not a professional athlete, but the professional athletes, why did Pakistan win the 1992 Cricket World Cup? The captain, he sat there and he brought everyone there and he told them that yes, we have to win this World Cup. What happened next? Yes, they won the World Cup. Why? Because again, the same thing. The subconscious mind suddenly showed them, your nerves are made of steel. We need to win this World Cup. You go on the ground, you hit it out of the park. So that is what you are preparing your subconscious mind. Like our hockey coach, what did he do? He gave mind to us. He gave a thought process to us. He said to one of our players, your brother was an international hockey star, and here we are in Ludhiana. This was not an international game, but he was just invoking that subconscious mind that your brother is an international star. When we go back to our school, we need to have a medal. This was a bronze medal game. We lost in the semis. This was a bronze medal field hockey game that we were playing. And our coach said, what are we going to tell our school guys? We lost in the semis. We again lost in the bronze medal game. No, we got to pick up bronze. And here we are. We defeated a team which was much ranked much higher than us. We beated them and we won that medal. So visualization is very important. Start from visualization, then get a clarity of mind, then start focusing on your beliefs, and you will manifest the success.
Fantastic. That is all the time we have today on this topic. And as I mentioned, if you want to take a look more about your conscious subconscious mind, look into Bruce Lipton, Dan DePenny's work, even Sigmund Freud. But until next week, we're happy to have you join us on this brand new show called Food for Thought, only on Channel Y every Sundays at 10 a.m. Brand new episode, and then 4 p.m. and 10 p.m. And thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much, Monaji. I hope our viewers enjoyed today's discussion. Thank you so much for inviting me.